Okay, should be working. I remember at the last second we need to start usually box like the chat's getting again. Nothing like being bad for screen. Camera worked on. Insane. What else? So let's start today. Reviewing this. And I'll be right back. Fine has been starting a stream first thing in the morning. People moving around. So yeah. So I want to just start the stream with a review of the Ocelot changes that I made. So last week I upgraded to Ocelot 23.3.3, and after updating it broke. And the maintainer I provided the error I was getting. I said, here's my configuration. And I basically said, after upgrade, the cluster name is being used in place of the service address. And error messages tend to be self-explanatory. That's patronizing. That's irritating. It appears that your host is offline and not visible from Ocelot's machine. Not true. The default console provider uses no names as host names, so you must ensure that the server one machine is connectable from Ocelot's machine. It is. This seems to be a typical DevOps issue in Docker environment. If you're not utilizing console nodes, additional development may be required. It's worked up until 23.2.2, and then stopped working. Regarding the issue title, I'm unclear about the sentence related to the version upgrade. Console service discovery providers have definitely been updating, but the logic that constructs the service object at runtime remains unchanged. No names continue to be used as host names. Provide more details. And then got irritated because why? So I apologized and posted this. I'm planning item service and service ring on my dev machine, 23.2.2 version. a request to post the planning items at point mentioning configuration. Well, it's fine. It resolves after we're into 23.3. It looks like it's trying to resolve server 1, server 162. Because server 1 is the known name, but it's not actual host name. I've reviewed the changes. I mean, this is basically I've reviewed the changes, nothing's wrong. And rename server 1 to localhost. So rename it so it uses it. I don't see how that's not a breaking change. So what that is, it's here's my node. There's the node server 1. It's got an internal IP address because it's a Docker container, right? And this has service instances. The idea is it's meant to resolve when I say, hey, I need to use planning items service. It resolves this and gives me back an address, right? This address. What it's doing is giving me back this port. So maybe I'm lacking the technical knowledge to explain exactly what's going wrong. But in my world, that is returning the node name, not the. It's not even the host name of the machine it's trying to go to. It's not resolving because if this was on a different address, if these services were connecting through different IPs on the network, right, they weren't all localhost. This would be 192.168.54 or whatever. So this is an IP address or an address, right? This is a name. I'm not resolving the name. I'm not doing any DNS magic. If you prefer not to follow this convention, right, renaming server 1 to localhost will not breach our current naming convention. Our nodes is for localhost is a valid host name which also serves as the node name. So either my language is not accurate enough, or I don't understand the actual problem. Right? If the absence of well-explained documentation on naming conventions, so he provides this link, right? These services coverage. So the OSLOT community has consistently reported both from the past to present issues with console services due to a variety of console agent definitions. Some DevOps engineers prefer to group services as console catalog nodes. So my understanding of console is limited. My understanding of OSLOT is limited. I'm trying to use a technology. It's a common case, right? I'm trying to use a technology to move me forward, but I do not have a full understanding of everything involved. So do I dig deeper and become an expert? I don't know. So what he provided was if you use this, and then in here, basically tell it to use the service address instead of the default, which I think is the node. So if we go in here, right, let's put a breakpoint there. Stack. But my issue with this is I'm now having to code something to tell it to use the address thing that I want. I don't feel that's right. That's just a name. That's not even a. Should start. So basically, if I take that line out and stay on 23.3, it will fail. This is all GraphQL, which is why it's not treated. If I'd have had GraphQL going through console through OSLOT as well, this would have already broken. So now when I click on this, why do I not see a change? Oh, because it's all in GraphQL stuff. I need to change something. So to change. So, there you go. So the node server 1, right? The service entry. So it should be using the address of the service entry. But it seems like it's using either the node of the service entry or the node itself by default. I suppose I could look at the service builder to see what the code's doing. But again, do I take this time? I mean, it's got to be a breaking change, in my opinion, because it was working fine up until that version. So there's something has changed in how it's resolved. So either I've managed to configure my Ocelot configuration and my console configuration incorrectly by accident, so that it just worked, and now it's not working because the configuration is actually correct. So if I look at the default console, otherwise this is what's in there. I'll look at that method. So if the node is null, then use the entry service address. Otherwise, use the node name. Let's get the that seems weird. Service host import. Why would that be the node? What would the node name do anything for me? If the node is the console node. Good afternoon, Mr. Jones. How you doing? Yeah. I'm not going to lose a lot of time. I'm going to leave that fix in place for now. I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave that. That's this. I'm not going to leave it commented out. That would be bad. Right. I don't think if I can get this console, Ocelot. That could backfire badly, in my opinion. Actually, wow. So what I'm doing is I know I'm committing to development right now. I'm just trying to get the branch in a good place where um, it's all updated. So let's go. Let's start it. Let's start it. So what I want to move to now is I want to move to alerting. I feel that it might be a little bit too premature to move straight to alerting. I think I might have to do some extra stuff first, like being able to add a new user into the tenant. That way I can actually, maybe I can leave that for later. So I need to kind of consider what this design looks like. Oh, yeah, I was mid doing actions there. Oh, no. was all over the place yesterday. I think I wanted to do. The idea there is it'll open the file and run the tab rather than actually having file downloading, because that would be beneficial when we go. Let's fix that up. So I'll leave that way. Otherwise, that's a big problem. This is kind of generic. It's just whether I do that or not. So much fun. Let's do this right. Let's get that. Say private fetch. By image of it. Fetch is actually. Download. Put that in it's download. And I think. And then this is there's not mentioned much around by true. It's not at the time. Good afternoon. You might sound very muffled. Muffled? Oh no. Thank you very much for letting me know. Got it. Oh yeah, fine.
That sound any better? That should sound nice and clear now. So what that was doing was using the camera microphone. It had switched over to use the cam link. "20 minutes in." Well, thank you very much for letting me know. I appreciate it. Sorry about that. Again, you get used to a setup, and when you go on to try and recreate a setup, it becomes much harder to. You have to juggle all the things again. Let's get this fixed up. I just wanted to test this yesterday, and I got sidetracked, so I'll fix this up and then move on to the next piece. Open file. Okay, so that should now. The icon's wrong, but so that should. Yeah, there you go. So that opens the tab. Yeah. Okay, cool. And that downloads the file. I'm not finished with that at all by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just kind of. I started that action yesterday, and I should finish it at least. Lucid icon. So lucid icons, the way they work is you have to add them in, I believe. Yeah, panel right close. I have to choose the icons I'm going to use, so which is okay by me. So the goal of today's stream is to start getting notifications kind of figured out as a first pass. it's not going to be perfect because there's way too much to do. What would this be? Open. Nope, 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 nope. External link. There we go. So this would be external link. Yeah. And then over here. No, over here. External link. That should at least look correct. It's not perfect, but it was. Actually, if I do text equals true there, that should smooth that out a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Okay, it didn't perfect, but it was. And it stops me having to download it every time. Okay, so let's get that committed. Again, I'm on development right now, so um, um, open file in browser. Okay, because that is not a great way of doing it, because it's not very obvious which behavior. Hey, DVD, greetings from my hotel room in Norfolk, Virginia, I assume. Not Norfolk, UK. How's it going, Patrick? Welcome in. I worry about the refinements. I can't worry about that for right this second. Okay. Push. No, no, I was just being again, it's funny because I hear British place names and I assume UK still. Um, even if I know they exist in the US. Really? Okay, so here's what I want to do. So I need to kind of figure out, and this is going to take a bit of planning, and I figured I'd share this on stream rather than go off, figure it all out, write the code, and then say, hey, look, it's working. Because this is an important step, right? So ultimately, what I want to be able to do is when I change any of this stuff, when the review date changes, or when a review date goes past due, etc. So there's some service-based stuff, some immediate stuff, right? So some real stuff, real-time stuff. If I change the title of a planning item, right, I want to be able to subscribe to those changes. And I want to be able to say, I want to be told immediately through a push notification. I want to be told via an email. I want to be told in a summary at the end of the day, right? So the service is again. Ads are going to start in a couple of minutes. I apologize if you get stuck behind them. Um, um, Patrick, are you in Virginia because you're doing training or because you're on vacation? By the way, I forgot to ask that. Um, or are you, or you know, from a notifications perspective, I also want to offer eventually a dashboard of some form, right? So I want to say, okay, here's the things that have happened in the system. So it's going to be very granular. I'm going to watch for changes and I'm going to allow the users to say, okay, I care if this planning item changes this project or whether it's attached to this project. I care whether planning items are, the review date is updated. I care if the review date has passed, right? So I really do want to offer that level of granularity to try and make sure the notifications can be very targeted. I'm still going to offer some sort of generality where you say, okay, tell me about everything, and then you can kind of refine you can kind of narrow the nozzle on the hose pipe. Work trip, we have a partner on the Shipston project that's out here. Nice. Nice. Trips for work can be fun. So this is quite challenging, right? Because there's several pieces to it. So let's go to my favorite tool of the moment. Let's start a new. We have some notifications. Make sure you distinguish between working days, e.g., a notification goes out after something sits for 5 days. It includes the weekend. Doesn't help much. Good point. Yep. Eric, unfortunately, non-VIPs and non-subs are not able to post links. If that was anything meaningful, just let me know. Unusual to start the chat with a link. So, ads are about to start, so I do apologize. But that's a good point, Delta. The ability to manage your notifications is something that I really think is going to make this it's make or break, really, right? Because I really want to leverage the notifications, but I want to make sure that notifications are simple to configure, are easy to disable, and easy to refine. And the reason I want to make sure refinement is that I don't want to just general, oh, by the way, this planning item changed. That's not helpful. And it also prevents the user from saying, okay, I care if the review date's changed. I don't care about any other information on it changing. I just care about the review date changing or being passed, right? If a project is assigned to it, right? I care about if a planning item is assigned to a specific project. I want to offer that feature, so you can really configure the notification. And then as far as options go for notifications, and I did make some notes on this at some point. I'll have to see. I built a grid of I built a grid of options, documents, workflows. How can I find this? Ads are about to end as well, so. I gotta pop out and get heading to work here, so I'll catch you later. Pray for me on my 6 a.m. flight to LA tomorrow. Oh, well, safe journey, Patrick, and have fun while you can. Enjoy. Take care, man. 6 a.m. flight to LA. Okay. So I had made some sort of grid of things. Let's see if I can. Um, this is where my chaotic nature does not serve me well, because I make notes, but I don't always keep track of where I made notes. But basically, what I want to do is say, okay, well, first is the level of granularity. I want to be able to configure alerts against data changes on the thing, assignment changes, project changes, review date, right? So for every item that I'm going to allow notifications on, I want to allow some sort of what changed, right? The way you can get notified, you can get notified immediately. You can get notified immediately in the dashboard or on pop-up. So you could get a notification up here, or you could just have a thing arrive in the dashboard, right? So you can see already that this is going to be many weeks worth of work that I'm going to build into this. But I think building the notifications out really does take this to that point. Now, that doesn't prevent me from dogfooding it, right? I could switch my focus and get the deployment pieces done so that I can dogfood the application, because I don't need notifications, right? I don't care if a review date changes. I just care about, the review dates. The problem with doing it that way is I am going to spend weeks getting the deployment up and running to a local machine, etc., which I need to configure, etc., just to be able to dogfood the application. Notifications are a fundamental piece of what I want to introduce into the application stack. So my thought is the value proposition really starts to become clear when that's there. So at that point, once I've got notifications in place, I can actually work on the deployment. So I can actually get a version of the application I can dogfood, and I can also demonstrate its behaviors with real data. And this is the other piece, right? This is the piece that I am certain for me makes the big difference, because it allows people to configure what they see and what they get told at the application. So it's an investment in time, but and doesn't really help me again dog food use of the application. Like, I could turn around now and worry about deployment, and I need deployment because there's no way I want to host a second version of this application on this machine, because that would not be good, right? Because of code changes, etc. I'd have to worry about data migrations, and I'd get distracted in other ways. So it's okay to do this. So I'm going to focus on notifications, also because it's a fun part, right? It's a massive piece that is a very challenging component, and will grow with time. Yeah, dashboards, summary emails, pop-up notifications. There's all sorts of ways you can be notified and on all sorts of information. So there is some sort of it's not necessarily a matrix, because technically every type of notification should be available in every format. So there's going to be some refinement there once we see it working. But yeah. So if you're new to the stream, you're more than welcome to ask questions, pass opinions. If you think what I've just said is nonsense or impossible, I'm happy to hear thoughts and opinions and that sort of stuff. On side projects, I tend to chase the excitement. Yeah, I can definitely, that is an exciting component, right? Because this will be pretty much, I know I've been asked throughout my career, I've been asked for some sort of system like this 3 or 4 times, and it's either never come to fruition, or it's never been where I would want it to be, right? So this might be kind of a white whale style project, this piece. That being said, it is I feel it is possible, and I know that systems do achieve granular notifications. I just don't think systems do it the way that I'm kind of planning it out, that I've seen. And if Jira can do this level of notification, yeah, event storming would help. Possible. So let's do some drawing. Client API. Kafka. Right now I'm drawing just for the sake of my visualizing it for me. So isn't necessarily going to make any sense. So right now that goes to view, right? Oh, let's move that there. So when we publish the integration event to Kafka, Kafka is consumed by the view. So my first protocol is going to end up with sorry, this is like I said, some of this is white whale stuff because I've done this before. Um, and I know this was not easy, but with what I've got, the way I've got it now, this might be simpler. So from changes will calculate the delta between two objects, right? So in my mind, figuring out what changed and notifying people of changes are two different systems, right? They're not the same. So changes here, and the challenges with changes will become very apparent once we start going down that path. Um, sorry, I have really bad attention problems. What about if something doesn't change but you thought it would, e.g. a ticket sitting in dev or a view? So those are kind of monitoring processes, right? Those are, well, hold on. Point. I need to figure out a good way of making notes here. It's funny, these streams, even though they're the majority of my content on the channel right now, are actually the least popular streams and getting less popular looking at the numbers. So I should probably use Notion or something, but I end up using Notepad. Yeah, I have general just like I said, I'm very disorganized in terms of tracking stuff like this. So like I'm a scribbler. I like to. This is the closest I can get to sharing those scribbles, right? But you know, Obsidian. Yeah, but again, it's just another place to dump things, right? For me, right? OneNote. I have Space open, and Space has documents right now, which is similar. Um, Although I think because Space is going away, they're not going to make this new. I get ready for work. Good luck all. Delta, thank you very much. Take care. I'll see you again soon. It's marked down though, so you can use it anywhere. Yeah, yeah. It's another account. Let's go in there. Download Obsidian. Space is going away, so yeah. Is this install? Yes, it is. I've got so many tools like this installed. Create new Obsidian Vault under a folder. It doesn't matter right now because all I'm looking to do is take some notes on stream. Dota's made some good points that I don't want to lose track of. with Mermaid.js. You can, yeah. So I'm just off stream. Package it, no. Stream. Dev. The funny thing is, this project, this project is actually still in my prototypes folder. I never moved it. Okay, you need a dark mode, otherwise there'll be riots. So yeah, I've never actually moved this out of my prototypes. Dark, there we go. Okay. Welcome. Yeah, I could use all sorts of tools for this, right? So let's do. Yeah, but these are gonna be ramblings of a madman, as I often refer to these things as. So it's liquid sky notifications. So hi Kaiserpunk, how you doing? Okay, so there's a few things that change. Information changes. So we've got, and these are the easiest to track actually in changes, because these are something triggered the integration event, therefore there is a difference, right? So this is e.g. view date, name, title, projects. We have elapsed or non-changes, as though to put it, right? So view date elapsed, or no updates, right? Because if an item has no updates at all in a period of time, maybe you want to track that. Also, this applies more to when we get to the actual work side of things, right? If something's sat in review for more than 3 days, you might want to know about it. You might want notifications on that. Got to be careful about using so the lack of progress is also something to track. So for anyone new to the stream, I'm working on this tool. Right now it's kind of focused on the planning aspect of work, but ultimately it is aimed at being an agile project management platform. So it's meant to be from ticketing through to stories. Will learning C# from scratch be hard if I've been making complex interconnected game logic systems with nodes for 3 years? Like to learn .NET development first to understand C language structure. I don't think C# in general is very difficult to learn, because you've obviously, if you've been building logic systems, right, you understand flow, you understand logic concepts, right, which is what programming is. So, and it's really weird because I've got the chat over there, but the camera's there. So if I'm trying to look at the camera, there's no prompter right this second. If you're trying to build complicated systems, then you understand all the flow control stuff, you understand branches and all sorts of stuff. So language concepts aren't going to be too hard to learn. So the language, C# language is very simple overall. Understanding the logic? Sure, I wouldn't be able to do anything without Copilot. Findle, how you doing? Um, you know, it's yeah, I wouldn't say it's beyond you at all. Um, what is it? This series, I'm just reading poop as you know. I get it. Yeah, I know. That implies Copilot is logical. So this series by Jeff Fritz is a really good thing. The challenge you might find is that it might be, I don't know about you, but for me, I find trying to go back and do stuff that is simple stuff is harder to follow, but um, that is a good set of tutorials on the structures available to you and whatnot. So I definitely give that a try. But no, I don't. I assume you're looking at C sharp for something like game dev then, if you've been doing game logic stuff. Okay. So yeah, so what I'm building is an agile platform. The idea will be that ultimately the these requirements as they're laid out will ultimately be the things that we are expecting from the stories. And when it comes time, the idea will be to promote this to become stories, one or many stories, and pull them over into an actual story into sprints. But right now, what I want to focus on is the ability to tell people that things have changed in the system. And what I'm trying to do differently is A, allow a level of granularity, B, keep it simple, and C, I want to be able to proactively monitor as well. So I want to be able to say, um, I care that a project was assigned to this or a planning item was assigned to this project, so I want to be notified about those things. So you're not watching the specific the planning item; you're watching for the introduction of the planning item. So there's a lot of reactivity, and then again, make notifications simpler. So suppose these are uh, reasons for notifications, right? Um, information changes, non-changes. Um, what else would trigger that? Um, so the information changes, the review date changes, the review date elapses, no updates. So these are more. This is going to be more monitoring, and these will be more reactive. Okay. Subscriptions wise, I want to be able to subscribe for email or event, email daily summary, um, notification alert, um, browser, um, dashboard for event, dashboard summary. And ultimately, you could do things like push notifications. So right now, what this is I'm thinking I'm not going to try and use this as a WPA, right? I'm not using the browser as an app, so I'm not going to do push notifications down into the client that way. I'm going to use as it stands, the GraphQL components to be able to push that information in there, so I can tell when things have changed. and tell each client what's there. Reasons for notifications, subscriptions. Now, in terms of subscriptions, it's not just configuration wise. Entity. So I want to say, hey, I care about a project. Right. Okay. This is where this is going to get very, very messy, very, very tricky. And I've got a feeling there'll be many versions of this tool. So the way I'm going to plan to do this is some sort of changes API, right? So the live stuff, information changes, those are live notifications. So let's tag that. These are live, right? These are monitored, I'll say. Right. So live changes are things that are going to happen in real time. They're going to come through the system. We're going to determine what they are. This system here is not going to hook into notifications. This system here is going to literally take an object, compare it to its previous version, and say, by the way, this changed. So more event publishing, right? It's going to publish, okay, the the name change, the the title change, the review date changed. It's going to stream them out as events, right? The challenge there from this perspective, and this perspective, is you also want to consolidate how that's happening. So I'll stream them out as live events, but I'll put a correlating identifier on them. So yeah. So if things go, so basically like an event key press thing, right? Where you're saying, okay, debounce the key press. So if I receive the same key press 5 times in a row, I only want to hit it once. But after a certain amount of time, yeah, that actually counts as a change. We're good. But I'll put a correlating ID on the actual changes. So from the changes, right, you can listen to those events from notifications. So the benefit is, with the changes being a separate component, that can stream out the events, and whoever cares about those events can deal with them. So in this case, notifications is a component of the system that is going to care about it directly, right? So I'm building it for potentially the case where I never need. But what I've experienced is this sort of stuff is the sort of stuff someone will say, oh, well, could we notify this system, or could we notify this customer when this happens? We don't want to, we want to do that. And what happens is, if you break, and there is a bit of Yagni, right? You ain't going to need it, but experience of this sort of stuff is, once you show people the ability for it to do it, it is much more likely they're going to ask for more from that. So I might be preemptively engineering something that I might not need. However, there is another argument there, in that I can actually maintain these components separately. So it might be overcomplicating it to break them out as different services, publish more events, make it more chatty, but I also can maintain these things, and they are less code to manage as a whole. So if I don't merge the concepts of changes and notifications together, I now have two code bases that are independent. They do what they do. They are single responsibility, and they also are, by virtue of that, more maintainable, right? I can swap out one piece. I can replace it entirely. So the system as a whole might look more complicated, but it is modular in that respect. and this is probably the first piece we'll work on. The changes is probably the most impactful because you'll be able to see what's going to happen, right? As far as monitoring goes, these monitoring changes, this will be a separate piece, right? But I still have to decide what that's monitoring. So that might be, this is a kind of a prototype, right? The second. The monitoring piece might actually be, and actually it would make sense. Here's the integration event, right? The integration event fired. Actually, no, that is that. So if the integration event fires and monitoring hits it, then that is that is good enough. It doesn't need changes. I was thinking that maybe changes feeding into monitoring, but it doesn't matter because all you'd be doing is saying, "Yep, things changed on this object," but you already know because the integration event fired. Hi, Temtic. How you doing? Ads are about to start, by the way. I apologize if you get stuck behind them for a minute and a half, but I appreciate you. I do appreciate you watching them. They are sadly dropped in your face. I'm doing good. I'm started to plan out pretty much the biggest single right, I got Turbo now. No worries about ads anymore. Nice. Yeah, Turbo is definitely worth it if you can't subscribe to everyone, which, I doubt any of us are super wealthy that we can afford to subscribe to everyone. Turbo is definitely a good investment, even at its current price. So I'm embarking on pretty much the biggest, most important component of my entire platform so far, right? So this is gonna be a challenge. Yeah. Yeah. I still subscribe. I keep subscriptions. I keep 6 to 8 subscriptions where possible. If Twitch ups the cost though, which it looks like they're about to do, that might get peeled back a little bit, sadly. Okay. So monitoring will tackle this piece, right? So if something doesn't change, if its progress doesn't change, etc. Now, this seems very simplistic, and it kind of is right this second because there's things to consider, right? Monitoring is great if I know what I'm monitoring, right? So there would be some configuration in here in terms of gotcha. That makes sense. That makes sense. So what do I mean by that? Well, if we look at the database, right, a planning item is published, right? So planning item, we publish, here's the planning item. We publish the status of a planning item. And again, I don't know enough about that right this second, but let's say we publish the planning item and now the review date expires. So this monitoring piece, this is simple in this scenario, right? Because it's basically find the window, find the window, find the window, find the window. No, we're not going to find the window because we clearly don't know what we're doing because it's here. I've opened it in here, sorry. JetBrains built-in DB tool is great. I use it too. Yeah. So I use data grip independently, but even in Even in Rider, you can still access databases, and it's the same tooling. I like the consistency, so you can actually open windows and stuff and be comfortable. So yeah, review date is simple, right? So in the monitoring side of things, this can say, okay, what date is it? Okay, the review date has passed. It's the same tooling. It's just in a different IDE. The review date is passed. We need to publish a notification that the review date is expired, right? So from a subscriptions perspective, I will configure my subscriptions. I'll say I care about review dates expiring. When it comes to a status change, right? You're looking at more. You're looking at the planning items, but you're navigating down into child objects and stuff, and that's when that gets a little bit more involved. So the rules here are going to be very critical to figure out what they do. Now, what it might be is that I build all the rules in there and publish the notifications all the time, even if they're never used. Right. So I'm feeding these out. Changes the same way. If I create a way of comparing an object and saying this changed about this object, this changed about this object, this changed about this object. So again, if the status object is consumed, or the story progress, or whatever it is I represent it as, and it publishes as an event as part of these other things, then that's one set of changes. These are real time, right? So these are not. I don't have a batching. I don't have any ability to say, oh, by the way, all these things happened as part of the same event. So it's a little bit of guesswork in that respect, in that I have to say, well, I've got these things happened. Can I put context to them? Maybe I can, if they all get published out at the same time. Maybe Kafka's going slow or whatever. So multi-threading this is going to be incredibly challenging. And one way I have done this in the past is I've used, another technology. I've used Akka for actors, because then I can multi-thread those things. It just becomes, again, yet more complication, yet more messaging, yet more pieces, so it becomes harder to maintain. Grumpy, how you doing? Rounded rectangles to keep you from hurting yourself. Absolutely. I need bumpers. You're okay. Good. So notifications is a stream of I'm now willing to admit to myself and the world that I like RDMS. There, my dirty secret is out. That's the first step, being able to admit it. Actually, I should really thank you again for advising me to refactor my code. It's such a pleasure to add new features now. It feels faster to do it, and now I can find stuff more easily. It's it you should never be afraid of your code. And when you get afraid of the code, you're scared to change things. You add in more code to fix problems because you don't want to change something. So being able to embrace refactoring and being able to go and change that code, and then, like you did, break it up. It it's a good thing to do. Your flowchart is so much prettier than mine. Well, this is my scribblings, right? I like Excalibur. I have the Docker hosted version of it. People who love freedom refactor their code. Exactly. 100%. I'm afraid of our .NET framework app at work and the 50 plus packages that are all out of date. Yeah. Yeah. It's it's when I'm talking about like I could merge these things into one concept, right? I could merge these happily into one service and achieve similar results. And it might be a little bit of over engineering to break these out, right? But in reality, having them as separate components that have, you know, yes, I require messaging to make them work, and I could end up with slowness, etc. But it does give me more maintainability, and I can replace or fix these up. If I find the technology isn't perfect, I could actually swap out a single component of the system with an alternative technology. It's unlikely to happen, but it is possible. I can also update them independently, so I can tackle future upgrades much more simply. Do what I do, move it to .NET 8. That's what the rewrite is for. Senior Dev said too many DB model changes to upgrade. Just make a new app, use none of the original code. That's a challenging thing. If it's an established application, a full rewrite is not for the lighthearted. It also means that you could miss logic, so making sure you are reviewing constantly the workflows, the any logic. It's also a chance to fix things or correct things. So it's not, you shouldn't just take what was there and assume it can be ported straight over as well. It's a good time to remove fluff and make sure that the use cases are valid still. That is a lie that senior dev is telling themselves as much as anyone else. They might not realize that they are gaslighting themselves. There you go. Nice. All good? Nope. It's very relevant. It's much appreciated. I mean, too many DB model changes to upgrade. In front of people. Made empanadas this morning. They're cooling on the stove top. Oh, nice. I like me a good empanada. Like, when I did a rewrite of the application, I kept the database schema, and used the exploration of the new application to understand deprecated fields in the schema. They were left there for compatibility and then deprecated later. So, because you want the data, you don't want to migrate the data at the same time because you're going to introduce more problems. Was my approach there. Tons of technical issues with recording, so that kind of sucks, but it works. But I was like, Latin American pasties. We're changing a lot, to be fair. This was a college side project turned a business. Most large things do work that way. They start as a little idea and become big, and if they take off, they become more and more challenging because they don't necessarily scale with the applicate with the usage. All successful endeavors start with a lie of we'll just make it barely work for now and we'll fix it later. So that's what I'm doing wrong. So I'm doomed to failure. Well, in some ways I am doomed to failure because I'm going to take too long to develop the application. That was Deflux's point a long time ago. It was just get it working and just get it working quickly and then prove that it's a good thing. But the problem is the things I want to develop are part of the technology. So I don't want to just jam it all together and make it work because it'd be too much work later to fix it. Talking about migrating without stopping prod and being able to develop. and evolve the application while it's being prepared, minimizing the actual stop step. Seems like the conversion ended up being something like 300 hours preparation, 32 hours actual migration. Yeah. Persist. After 6 months, we work schools and classes for the semester. All data after the semester changes is just for auditing. Migrations that work. So you could build the application as a new framework and then hit a breakpoint and switch over to your new application, and the other stuff is still in the old schema and it's just saved as auditing. Kept doing changes to the application. It worked on both prod and the work in progress of the migration project because they were the same. If you need to meet customer needs, then you are forced to make it work around your stinky code until you retire the app. Project is a stream project, and so the product is the stream, not the thing you're building during the stream. Yeah. This isn't a stream project though. I do it on stream. I do it off stream as well. This is not solely developed on stream. It's something that I would like to turn into a product. And the moment I accept that it's not going to become a product, I will open source it. But it's a good, if nothing else, it's a good portfolio project. All the logic is in .NET Standard 2, and that needs to be framework specific, is behind interfaces. Nice. I mean, that's kind of a cautionary tale as well, right? The whole, they were deprecated before 4.8. Keeping an eye on your dependencies is something that needs to be highlighted to everybody in the group, right? So that there is a known, we have to review these, we have to update these. And I've gone through many phases, like many different ways of doing this. Maybe it's a quarterly review, maybe it's a let's do a test. Keeping track of package changes is very difficult because there's not necessarily, I mean, you could use NuGet, you could subscribe to NuGet and watch for changes, and if a version changes drastically, highlight it, right? But it is a very important thing to keep an eye on, to make sure that you are not falling too far behind on a project, on a dependent package. And you have to take the time to review what the changes are and if they have impact, and regression testing. And again, it all feeds back into, if you do it all the right way, things will run smoother. You need a cranky product manager. Let me know if you need me to demand unreasonable things from you in order to ship it. Dummies Dev, .NET Standard 2.1 doesn't work on 4.8, so it's not really standard. Yeah, that was annoying. I came across that myself. They created a new .NET Standard. Had everything away behind separate projects, interfaces, and DI. I cannot imagine you as a product manager, Grumpy. Or rather, I cannot imagine working with you as a product manager. You definitely seem like someone I would butt heads with. Grumpy is the best. Yeah. Well, actually, I find that product managers that have technical expertise are generally the worst because they're the ones that are more likely to say, well, it's just. Ooh, let's be careful with that word. Can certainly do the product management. Yeah. And I don't say things like just. You might not do. But every technical product manager I've found, it's they are happy to say it's just. Okay. And that's things like, what do I have to do to get the system to do X? then ask a bunch of clarifying questions. Hmm. You understand productese, but I do understand engineerese. Yeah, I mean, you would understand their limitations or their, yeah. The thing I find is that when product managers try to, um, product managers, how do I put it? Product managers engage developers at a technical level. The developers go off and kind of plan the software, which I think actually feeds back into bad unit tests because they're kind of planning out what they want to do, ahead of time. So then they've already got an expectation of what they're doing, and then they go into it writing what they think they need based upon what they've talked about. 5 parallel red lines, 2 crossing each other, and 1 in green ink and 1 transparent ink. I also have the very non-managerial thing called treating people like adults who are experts in their field. Yeah, being treated like a child or an underling is I have seen the expert, yes. Yes. Now I'm thinking about, yes, I have. My previous product manager showed that to me. I butt heads a lot with the other devs because their solutions aren't always user friendly. Well, user friendly in terms of like UI UX stuff. The developers are doing the UI. If you're developing the workflow, then yeah, that's often going to be the case. Yeah, we're not good at UX. Like I say all the time, right? We work with tools like this, right? We're used to horrible user experience because we need so much stuff on the screen at once. We are not good people to look to for UX experience in general. I think areas users we know exactly how something works, so it's not difficult for us to use the application. But they also need our collaboration. And I've said it before, like there's 2 different types of systems, in my opinion. There's expert systems and there's user-friendly systems, right? Expert systems can be trained on and should be trained on. Because they need someone to go through, right? Technically, IDEs are expert systems. We just kind of fumble through them until we get to know them, and then we explore. We actually find we're using 20% of the actual application, right? Places like Amazon and sites like Walmart, etc. They're not expert systems. They're systems that are built to try and track people to pull people through. So they rely upon the user experience and the UI much more. UX dictates some of the app logic, though. Also doing a collaboration. Can we train an ML model to use our applications? That'd be terrifying. So yeah, no, developers are not the best people, and care should be taken to understand how the users are using the application. UX describes the process that a user wants to use to get a desired end result. This is the what. This does inform to a degree, but does not completely dictate the manner in which the desired end result comes about, which is the how. Oh, did you mean Temtic then? Did I miss a message? No. Um, if it's not being used by devs, don't make it feel engineered. Yeah, pretty much. Wow, developers are bad people. Bad time to join chat. It's Ranhol, good morning. No. Everybody's bad people. Dev is just a particular flavor. I like the direction this conversation has taken today. Yeah, I mean, one of the concerns over this overall is Grimdark Doomslayers explore. The obviously this is developed by me. It it's usable to me because I understand. I've built it. I've built on top of it. I understand the flow. I understand where to click. Because I've built the thing. So I'm not the best person for using this. Once I get to a good point, then letting people use it and seeing how they struggle will be interesting. And then trying to find a UI UX expert that can actually give me a layout that works, and then the months of work to overhaul the UI again will be a challenge. But I want to do that. I want to go through that effort because again, I am not the intended user of this software, but I will deal with any problems because I've written, right? So I'll make quick justifications for things that don't work quite the way they should do, and I'll only address the ones that are more irritating once I start using them. So that's why dog fooding is going to be important for me to use this app for. For instance, if a user wants to throw off their files in a folder, they create an empty folder. If they don't put something in that folder, the folder disappears on refresh. It's a virtual folder being stored in the files table. People are used to folders working a certain way, but we broke Jacob's law. Nice. Yeah, making things behave in a way that people don't expect is because you know how. I mean, but that's a simple one. You should understand how people expect it because you expect it. If I go and create a folder in Windows Explorer, I don't. Yeah, yeah. If I go and create a folder, it doesn't disappear after a while. It's on me to clean it up. I'd file a bug, make empty folder, hit refresh. Expected folder still there. Actual folder disappears. WTF? It's like setting your RDBS deletions to relations to cascading deletes. Ugh. The engineer was like, I did it this way so we didn't have to create a table for folders. Wow. That's that's quite the excuse. You can cascade delete, but don't usually. Yeah. 3 cheers for dev convenience. All decisions should be made this way. Ads are about to start again. We've gone through another half hour. I didn't realize this time flies fast when I'm not actually getting stuff done. A colleague of mine cascaded deleted a whole production DB of consultant profiles because he hadn't tested a deletion and it wasn't deployed properly, so there weren't any backups. He got yelled at and then I had to spend ages going through the logs to rebuild the DB. See, to me, if that's a part of a team, that's a team fail. That's not an individual fail. Because the team missed the fact that it wasn't tested. Okay, then solo, absolutely. But how did it get past any testing? So he was solely responsible for testing, solely responsible for verifying. Then yeah, you get shouted at. But how did the end users not? Because there must be some validations. I mean, I haven't done much consult. I haven't done any consulting. I haven't done any. I haven't done much working with other people outside of my regular job. But I have done that, and I've always given them a dev system or a test system to validate that things are working the way they expect. Um, we're talking about a company that were using a shared network folder when I started working there. But actually, that goes to another point about our professional responsibility there. Like, as a developer, don't we have a requirement for ourselves to make sure that the things that we know are in there should be validated by the end user? I told my team, copy the way other platforms work for everything that isn't unique. Focus on the unique. We spent so much time discussing things that already exist and work similarly on similar platforms. But again, so to me, my value add to this process is the review date and the notification stuff, right? So the ability to tell people what has changed and when is kind of key because this is what keeps you away from developers. Being able to get insights into the system as you decide. I apologize for ads if you're stuck behind them. Let's all make the mistakes because nobody is telling us not to. Let's make all of the mistakes. First thing I did was introduce him to SVN. Yeah, I've seen people host code in Google Drive. That was terrifying. That's pretty much your shared network folder scenario. Um, those arrows aren't exactly telling the truth because those are technically back into Kafka. Right. So these stream events out into Kafka. Kafka notifications gets picked up. Would you rather have no source control or bad source control? Our source control is a bit wonky right now. The packages were uploaded to the repo at the same point, but then added to git ignore. So you uploaded them but never removed them. We're talking about a company where my team lead had to modify some code when everyone was on vacation and he couldn't understand the code because he was technically an idiot. Technically or actually. So instead of waiting for people to come back and actually spend some time reading the code, calling someone because urgent, he chose remove 90% of the generic logic and rewrite the code to only work for this customer. And for all the placeholders and strings, he wrote Bob. That's correct. Uploaded and then not removed. Awesome. And again, that comes around to you're leaving lies in your code. You're leaving lies in your source control, all right? I don't know if I should allow that, Grumpy. It's labeling it as aggression. It labeled it as aggression on the words zip up. I think it thought you were telling me to shut up. Even in no source control, I can run a script to zip up the current state of the code into a zip file with a date and time staple to it. Oh dear. I mean, I'll shut up, but it'd be kind of a weird stream. Um, what I'm thinking about right this second, while we're chatting about other things, your automata is never like me. It definitely does call a lot of things out. Speaking of TLAs, my favorite color pattern is the POS pattern. If you have things, you can keep the things you want. If you don't have the things, your SOL if someone hits a shift delete. Pile of stuff. I put it wherever my correct is. But it does. Um, I put it wherever my correct is, but it does have other applicable meanings too. Yes. I think I took it in the intended way. YouTube does not like this sort of stuff at all. YouTube does not. When I stream to YouTube, most of the stuff. Yeah, because I think you've had it before, and you're a VIP, you get away with that. I think. I think you've had it before, so I've added it for you. Yeah. I also asked my wife, and she wasn't aware of any Spanish or Portuguese problem that. So I don't know why NuGet gets flagged. Respect my authority. Okay. So here's how the next couple of days of development on this platform is going to go, right? Apart from me tinkering with arrows and making sure they don't line up. What I'm going to focus on is this changes aspect first, right? So I'm going to focus on, okay, when I receive an integration event, I'm going to compare it to its previous integration if I have a version. If I don't, that's a good question. If I don't, that is a new object. Oh, I got the reference. Yep. I watched South Park in my late teens. Yep. I said it in my head the exact right way. I know I muttered it, but I definitely said it the right way. um I'm going to delete all the branches, hit update all packages, and go offline. Yeah, I think sometimes with source control, accepting that you have to reset the entire repository and start from scratch is probably a good choice on some teams. Cleaning out the fluff. I mean, cleaning out packages isn't too bad. You can actually just delete them and move forward, right? It's not like going back to another branch is going to do you any harm. I think again, leaving lies hanging around, I think is definitely something you should consider yourself, consider the value of, because leaving files in there, leaving them, you know, How many times have you come across a code base and be like, what is this doing? Why is this here? There must be a reason. Okay, I'll leave it. Right. I wish it was a lot simpler. So, sorry, they're bugging me because they're not. Okay, I need to tackle. Well, changes, yeah. Um, I actually did move our code from ADO to GitHub for our 4.8 upgrade. The repo is so clean. I'd love to make a career out of keeping repos clean. That would, I think that would drive you mad eventually. Look, I don't understand Git nearly as well as I should. I understand how to work with it in terms of I can push changes. I know enough to figure out how to modify things. I know how to do enough to be able to use it effectively, pull requests, etc. But when you see someone who understands how to manipulate Git in crazy ways work, that is quite fascinating to watch. So yeah, understanding how to maintain Git is is good. One trap. Best way to learn Git is to learn how it works. Yeah. Again, I think I've just been brought along for the ride with Git and learned what I need when I need it. And then the things I don't use frequently, I end up looking up again because I know they're possible, but I don't remember how to do them. Our front end dev does all these weird IDE settings and then commits everything. The IDE settings came with, oh. So you've got the personal IDE settings committed to the repo as well. Yeah, that should be removed. Do you know how annoying it is to retract a commit that you push to GitHub that contains third-party service keys? The answer is very, very, very. At the end of the day, it's really just an acyclic directed graph. That's funny because it's funny you mentioned that because I was looking up the other day what GitHub is built on top of, or what Git is built on top of, not GitHub. Can't remember why I was looking that up. Also rotate the keys, but you keep getting warnings even when the keys no longer work. Oof. Yeah, you're saying the. I know it's. I can create a repo for you to train you to roll back, revert, and then squash to get the Git graph clean. I'm like I said, I'm generally good with using GitHub. I'm not Git. I'm not I'm not saying I'm struggle, but I generally don't use it in a power user way. Um, there's things that I probably would do more, and I probably will deal more with as I get towards releasing this. But you're supposed to roll back in the sense that you lose history then. Yeah, but I've never had to maintain the repo to that level, right? It's a distributed platform, messing with history breaks your peers. Once you get into, I found that Git gets a lot harder once you get into teams, and also when you are not the ones responsible for dealing with merges, i.e., you have 6 teams and you've produced 50 or 60 branches over the course of a couple of weeks, and they all get to go merge in, and DevOps merges them on a weekend or on a weekday. They're the ones responsible, and they never reach out to do any merge conflicts, which must happen frequently. Git is harder, is source control. So I have seen lots of failures with the process. Yeah, DevOps does merges. The developers never do merges. What's that? I would advise not clicking that link. I assume they're being attacked. I probably used a dozen source control systems over my 30 years of development. Working with others always has issues. In the very least, you'd have locked files and contention. Yeah, it's working with others that's the problem. Like, again, this flow, I've pushed changes to development. I've merged branches into development. I know what I'm doing. I'm comfortable with doing these things. As a solo developer, it's easy to do some of these things. But if I was working as part of a team, this gets more complicated, especially when changes are out of step or we overlap. Again, the planning aspect, understanding what people are working on, so you understand when conflicts can occur. Just being aware of them can also help as well. However, the best way to minimize Git issues is to develop a workflow. And my senior dev deploys from local and never pushes to the repo. Our new project only deploys from main, and we're using trunk flow on dev, then pipelines to staging, then prod. Trunk flow, feature flags. Right. But again, those things require discipline, and they're necessary, but they will also break down when people don't follow that. Yeah. You have to figure out a way to deal with concurrency. Locking is the old way. Git and modern distributed systems tend to do more intelligent merging. Yep. That's actually a very good point. Chinese. So on that point, I have, let's say I have Kafka public. So the API is publishing integration events, right? So let me make sure that integration events. So integration events is basically the current state of a given entity, right? It's a snapshot that I am comfortable sharing with the wider system of this data. So each API has um, its own publishing of integration events. So planning items comes from planning items, tenants, etc. They get published out there. Changes now, a lot of information could be flowing through here eventually, right? So the changes aren't guaranteed to come out in the same order. I will need to deal with how do I condense those down, right? How do I handle those things? You have to figure out where to do it. That's why smaller, more regular commits is better with more modern systems. Reduces surface area of change. Yes, agreed. And one of the things I need to start doing as I get further along with this project is being more disciplined on my what is a story, what is a piece of work, because I'm in that phase of I'm building stuff and I kind of flow through and I end up with massive commits of hundreds of files. That's not that's not really healthy. That will make it harder in the future. I have to fight with my ML researchers to submit more regularly. They often insist that they think large commits are better, despite every dev saying the contrary. No, I know how challenging that is to. I know the problems I'm facing with doing that again because I'm solo right now. I have asked a few people if they would be interested in joining me on this project. Um, but again, time and whatnot overlapping, that becomes harder. And the context at this point, the context of the entire system is hard to just flow through. Which does remind me, I posted in the Discord in the announcements channel, and I posted in One Lion's announcements channel yesterday. Sometime between the 5th and the 12th of July, I'm going to do a day of a stream, probably 2 to 3 hours of kind of a Q&A, as we talked about the other day, on being able to talk about this project, ask questions about this project specifically in real time, but also be able to talk about architecture and design choices, etc. Because that all stems from that discussion around the repository pattern the other day. So I'm thinking of running that. So I'm open to, if you have interest in joining in that, I would like to know. If there's things you'd like to talk about, if there's things that you think would be interesting to use in that segment, I'm open to suggestions. But I'd like to understand if there's any interest in that before I even think about a date. I do have that week off after the 4th, the following week, so I do have longer streams available to me. Of course, they haven't really started doing serious code review with their peers yet, so they don't know the string large code reviews. Yeah, that's another problem, right? Large code reviews are hard. The context and everything. My senior dev asked me to review his PI yesterday. 50 files were in his commit. I just sent it. It's in early stage dev. None of this is project. I mean, you should, if you're not aware of that, of those changes, why those changes are there, then that's harder to review. Yeah. 10 line change, 20 comments, 1,000 line change, 0 comments. Ouch. Well, having, so to me, if the code is following a set of standards, if the code is consistent, again, I'm not trying to say that my code is perfect, right? I'm just trying to say that I have a consistent pattern, right? There's an endpoint, it does a thing. You can see the difference, the challenge, right? So if I do something abnormal, it will stick out because there should be a pattern, right? There should be okay, well, an endpoint sends a mediator command. That command does a thing. If in that workflow it steps out, you will see it and you'll be able to call it out, right? So you don't necessarily need to understand all the concept of what I'm doing. I think it's important to make sure that you understand why people are changing things. We have many teams changing files that overlap other teams because of the way the code's built. And I think that causes a problem because people don't have context of why the change. So I think as you're reading the code, being able to understand the context of what it's done, in which it's done, is really critical. So you can understand logic flaws, behavioral flaws, challenge, missed requirements, etc. You can see if the code is consistent. When people get to make up their own code any way they want, that's a challenge, right? So if the patterns are not set or you don't understand things, that's hard. I think it should be acceptable to sit down with developers and review PRs, and have them explain it in real time. I know that's time consuming, but it is, I think that helps. Um, um, for me, I have dozens of projects with 24 researchers who are all bad devs. Ugh. So you're chasing no standards, no no consistency. Yeah. But I think again, I think organizations should be, how we do the training on we might do training on agile practices, etc. Organization management should take training on understanding the dev flow and why it's important to take time to do certain things. They don't have standards themselves, let alone a team standards. Somebody such as change style in the same line. Yeah, you're chasing a mess there for sure. Um, oh man, Python confirmed. This absolutely sounds like a buddy who does research. Research code is terrible across the board. Huh, that's interesting. Okay. I this is this has been a good day for conversation. Um, I I enjoy this sort of stuff because it's useful to get other people's insights into how they work and the things they see and the challenges they face. Um, it might put some people's problems into perspective. It might might make people feel bad, but yeah, there's some in my opinion embarrassing stuff to get up for their code for papers. But their primary focus is not the code. Oh no, the machine learning research. Yeah, it is the code. Does research code exist for one single purpose? I always feel like that Python code is written to do one specific thing. Hmm. I legit don't see a parallel between the attention they pay to writing a paper and writing code. You cracked the stock market, did you? You rich? You figured it all out? Okay. Um, is there a line between scripting and programming? Trust people to invest well, just look at me and do it the other way. If I invest short, if I short invest. I've been able to hit it once, except for when investing in index funds. I have not played with stock stuff at all. Often, yes, business logic is pretty bespoke or to prove out an idea in a paper. Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to end up here. I need to find raid targets. If anyone has any developers they know are streaming at this time of the day, I would love to find other app devs. And we raided into Colonel Simba yesterday. He is streaming again. He's kind of learning his way through building an application. He was learning some database stuff yesterday, making some interesting design decisions. Um, streaming. Um, I, I I would like to find app devs, right? So I probably will rate full bots. I'm happy rating full bots. Um, um, if you can stand some metal while watching someone code. Um, Tim, yeah, it's challenging trying to find app devs. Genso. Let's go raid Genso. I know Genso's playing with Unity, but let's go. We haven't raided Genso in a little while. Genso it's a chill place to hang out. He's just trying to learn his way through. He doesn't accept much um much in terms of assistance. He's just kind of muddling his way through developing and building things. So I'm going to raid over to Gensel today. We'll go say hello. White Panthers are chaos to raid into, and my clips are horrendous, and she always plays clips, so I don't like raiding White Panther. So we'll raid over to Gensel. I'll be back tomorrow. What I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to start working on changes. We're going to start focusing on, okay, taking these integration events and figuring out what sort of eventing we want to do to publish out here. So this is going to be an input-output sort of thing where we're going to figure out, okay, well, compare A to B. Would you like me to stop doing clips? No. I'm fine with the clips. It's just people have clipped some really weird moments of my stream. It seems like a lot of people have clipped, oh, I did a thing, or I was just sat there and they thought it was amusing. I was going through them and deleting them, to be honest, because there's so many like strange clips in there. So yeah, we're gonna raid again. So, and I will see you all tomorrow, hopefully, and we can have more conversation. We'll worry about changes and go from there. So take care, all. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon. Okay. And I need to build the screens. I got the camera working. That's a good first step. So take care, all. Bye.